I made some improvements to my system and I'm going to try again to distill water with my alembic. My ultimate goal is to fill up this with pure distilled water. So what I added to the system, I got these new hoses that fit better. It was really difficult to get all these hoses attached properly because they weren't the exact right size. So I had to go for a little bit smaller. And then my trick was I actually used a candle to heat them up, and then they fit on, and now they fit on really well. So now I have the condenser working properly. So this is bringing in all of my cold water that will make the vapor turn back into condensate. Another thing I need to fix is this pipe here is just having a problem leaking. All right, so I'm gonna try to tighten this more so we don't get any leaks once there's a lot of pressure going through the system. Dealing with pressure, not wide enough. Go for the needle nose pliers. Every alchemist is part plumber. I think we're set. So right now I'm trying to balance this. As we can see, it's filling up too much. I need to stop it before it overflows. I don't know what that sound is. I'm a little worried about that sound. I think it's the hot pad. I think it's the hot pad just heating up, so that's all right. I always gotta check. I almost burnt one of my wires last time. I want just a little bit of water flowing out of this all the time so that I'm getting a good circulation. Right now you can see the temperature. This is in Celsius, just about 20. We need it to get to 100, but it will start to evaporate before that, but 100 is when it will start really rolling. The water is going to travel up through here as steam, down through here, through the coil, and it's going to exit through this tube right here, travel down, and collect in here. Our fresh cloud water. Best water in the city. Most pure water possible. You can see here we're already starting to get some steam in the hose. This is a good sign. All right, so we're starting to get a boil here, and we're starting to get our first bit of cloud water. We can see that the temperature is almost up at 100 degrees. Let's see, we can hear it boiling. Okay, this whole thing is really hot now. There is water that's coming out of this tube. And we can see it traveling down. And we can see it down there. That is the water, the distilled water that's now traveling down the tube. We can see there's a bit of a gravity issue here where it's stuck in the tube, but that's fine. it'll come out eventually once enough collects. And that is our fresh water collecting, condensing from steam to fresh water. After a bunch of trial and error, I have finally got the system to work. All right, so it's been a couple hours and now you can see we have this much water here. I'm so excited. This means that it's successful. It's not leaking anywhere. And this is all pure distilled water. Okay, so I did it. This is all my distilled water that I ended up with. So it took me about 2 days, but now here we have it. My system works. There's a few things that need to be worked out. This is a bit leaky, but just some minor adjustments, but we have it. So now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to test the water and we're going to see. I'm going to show you that it is distilled water and we'll test it versus a few other types of water. Now I'm going to do a water test. I'm going to test how many parts per million are in the water to show you the difference between distilled water and a couple other types of water. So this is the water that I distilled myself in the alembic. This is going to be the purest water that has almost nothing in it, just hydrogen and oxygen, pure distilled water. This is tap water, just from the sink. I used tap water to distill this water. So we're going to see what it was like before and after distillation. I also have a mineral water, crystalline mineral water. This is water found in France. And I'm thinking that this is going to go in order from the least parts per million to the most. So this has calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium, silica, sulfates, a few other things in it. So I think this is going to have more parts per million than this, but we will see. And this is actually salt water from the ocean that I gathered from the ocean. And the blue is, it has some copper because it was in my copper alembic. So I think this is going to have the most parts per million. So let's see. So I'm going to fill up some distilled water. And let's test. So we're at 0 parts per million. Here we can see the parts per million. We're at 0. And it's going to tell us the temperature as well. So 0, and let's see how many parts per million. Okay, so we're at 8 parts per million. So this isn't completely pure. There might be some things in there, but we're at 8 parts per million. Pretty good, but not perfectly pure. I think we can improve upon that with time, but that's okay. Okay, this is the tap water. Okay, we're gonna see this went back down to 0. So let's see what it's at. Okay, we can see it went way up. Okay, here we're at 273 parts per million. So we can see a huge difference. We really purified this a lot to get it down to 8 from 273. This is what we originally used. So we can see how much we purified it. We got so much, we got so many particles out of it by doing this purification process. So just because there's particles in this doesn't mean that it's necessarily bad, but the problem is we don't know what's in it. We don't know. We could have good minerals in there for us, or there could be bad. We don't know. That's the problem, is we don't know what's in the tap water necessarily. And sure, it's filtered, but we don't really know how much. So, all right, so that's tap water and distilled water. Now let's see how many parts per million we're at with the mineral water. Now, mineral water, what do we think it's going to be at? I think it's going to be at even more. I think it's going to be maybe up around 400, 500 parts per million. We'll see. All right, mineral water. Okay, less. So it's at 167. 167. So tap water actually had more parts per million than the mineral water. Here we're at around 174. The tap water had around 270. So about 100 more parts per million was in the tap water. So this has less in it, but a marked difference from the eight parts per million really pure water we have. So 8 parts per million, 270 something, 178 for the mineral water. And we have the salt water. This is settled a lot, so we'll see what it's like in the settled form, and then I'll mix it up too, if I can even get it open. This hasn't been opened in a long time. Oh, it's really sealed. Oh, okay. A mess. All right. Okay. And here we go. On. Okay, we're at 0. Let's see. Wow. This is off the charts. How many parts per million in salt water? 4,660 parts per million. Okay, so a lot dissolved in the salt water, and this is the reason why we cannot drink salt water. 4,600, it's maxing out my meter, really. 4,500. So look how much stuff is dissolved in that salt water. Of course, this is why we can't drink it, because it will dehydrate us and kill us. It is not clean enough to drink. Distilled water, you can drink it just like this. Tastes good to me. It has no flavor. You can drink it like this. There's lots of debate about whether it's okay to drink distilled water or not. For most people that have a normal diet, it's fine. You're getting a lot of minerals and things in your body through your diet. So if you're eating vegetables, if you're eating 3 square meals a day, you're fine. Because the water is going to go in and your body is very good at balancing all of that. So you don't really need to worry about drinking distilled water. You can do it. It is a bit of a controversial subject about whether it's okay to drink distilled water or not. I found that it's been perfectly fine for me to drink it. There's some people that say it's not okay to drink it. So typically what I will do is I will take some minerals, and in a big vat like this, I will remineralize my water. This is great for lots of things, distilled water. This is the basis of the chemistry and alchemy and everything that I do, because when we're working with all kinds of things, the purer the water, the better. This is really good for drinking, of course. It's actually really good for cleaning because they say that distilled water is thirsty, meaning it wants to bind with things. So you can use it just as a really clean cleaning agent, because it will pick up everything that is around. It will pick up the dirt. The other things that it's good for, I love using it with my coffee maker because I'm getting really good pure water that is mixing with my coffee. So I'm getting a purer taste of just the coffee and the water. With cooking, it's really good as well. Of course, you know, it's going to meld the flavors together better because, as I said, the water is thirsty. It wants to combine with something else. So it's going to pull in those flavors better. What else? It's really good when we are going to be making herbs and making teas and things like that. It's just, we always want to start with the purest, best elements when we are making medicines or anything else. And so that's why I love to feed this to my family as drinking water because I trust it, because I made it myself, because I distilled it, I tested it, and I remineralized it with minerals that I know and trust. And that's the way I like my water.